You got me down again.
What is Caitlin Clark doing to set off any of this negativity? Caitlin Clark goes to work every day and plays basketball well. And she stays off of social media. She's not subtweeting. She's not doing all this. She's not doing any extracurricular things.
The WNBA world is in chaos, and Caitlin Clark is at the center of it all. Legendary Hall of Famer Sheryl Swoopes has been caught throwing major shade at Clark, and the basketball community is buzzing. But what's even more shocking, Rachel DeMita, a former Division I basketball player and well-known media figure, has jumped into the debate to defend Clark, and she isn't holding back.
We have to talk about Caitlin Clark's #1 hater, Sheryl Swoopes.
Is this a generational clash between old legends and new stars? Or is there something more at play? Stay tuned as we break down the controversy that's shaking up the WNBA and its fan base. Caitlin Clark is no stranger to making headlines, and her rise to stardom in the WNBA has been nothing short of extraordinary. From her debut, she has been a game changer, breaking records left and right, while captivating fans with her electrifying style of play. Whether it's draining three-pointers from way beyond the arc or making game-changing assists, Clark has proven that she is a generational talent. Her performance has not only transformed the Indiana Fever, but has also increased the visibility of the entire WNBA. Clark's ability to dominate the court, paired with her competitive spirit, has quickly made her the face of the league. She consistently puts up huge numbers, averaging 25 points per game and leading her team to victories they hadn't seen in years. She is also the leading candidate for Rookie of the Year, an accolade that seems all but guaranteed at this point. Yet despite her undeniable talent and impressive numbers, Clark has faced an unusual amount of backlash. Some of it stems from older players who seem to resent the amount of attention she is getting. The biggest name to voice criticism? None other than WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes. Sheryl Swoopes, a Hall of Famer and 3-time MVP, is no stranger to success in women's basketball. She paved the way for future generations and solidified her place as one of the greatest players to ever step onto a WNBA court. So why is she throwing shade at Caitlin Clark? In a recent interview, Swoopes made comments that seemed to discredit Clark's achievements. She claimed that Clark's record-breaking numbers are less impressive because she had an extra year of eligibility due to COVID-19. According to Swoopes,
if you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year, and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record.
By having more time, Swoopes implied that Clark's record is somehow less legitimate. Swoopes didn't stop there. She also criticized Clark's style of play, suggesting that Clark takes an excessive number of shots per game, about 40 by her count.
How much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old. Like, you should be killing them. Because you've been doing it a lot longer than they have. Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
This comment immediately raised eyebrows, as it seemed like an attempt to diminish Clark's accomplishments rather than celebrate them. Fans were quick to react, with many defending Clark and pointing out that records are meant to be broken. But it wasn't just fans who spoke up. Rachel DeMita, a former Division I basketball player and host of NBA 2K TV, decided she couldn't stay silent any longer. Rachel DeMita has become a well-known figure in basketball circles, both as a former player and as a media personality. When she heard Sheryl Swoopes' comments about Caitlin Clark, she took to social media to offer a passionate defense of the young star. DeMita didn't mince words.
Sheryl Swoopes hating Caitlin Clark so much that she literally can't even say her name. It's like Caitlin Clark is the Voldemort if Sheryl Swoopes was Harry Potter. Like, literally cannot say Caitlin Clark's name. It is so bizarre.
She called Swoopes' remarks baseless and accused her of being jealous of Clark's success.
Whether you think she's the greatest basketball player to come out of college or not, doesn't mean that you should throw shade and not include her in discussions. It just makes you look petty. It just makes you look jealous, and it just makes you look like a hater.
DeMita pointed out that much of the criticism aimed at Clark seems to come from a place of envy. How could a young player like Caitlin Clark, who is bringing so much attention to the WNBA, face this kind of backlash from a legend like Swoopes? According to DeMita, it's simple. Clark's success has threatened the old guard. In her post, DeMita suggested that instead of tearing down young talent, veterans like Swoopes should be celebrating them. Clark isn't just a great player, she's growing the league, attracting new fans, and bringing attention to the sport. The numbers back this up. WNBA viewership skyrocketed by 180%, and ticket sales are up significantly, largely thanks to players like Clark. DeMita argued that this kind of growth should be celebrated, not criticized. What's happening here is more than just a simple spat between two basketball figures. This controversy reflects a bigger issue in sports, the tension between the old guard and the new generation. Sheryl Swoopes, a three-time MVP and Hall of Famer, represents the legends of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark, on the other hand, represents the new era of athletes who are breaking records, gaining massive media attention, and helping the WNBA grow faster than ever. It's no secret that the WNBA has seen a surge in viewership, ticket sales, and media coverage, largely thanks to players like Caitlin Clark. Clark has brought new fans to the game, and her influence is undeniable. Just look at the numbers. WNBA viewership jumped by 180%, and ticket sales are through the roof. Much of that can be attributed to the hype surrounding Clark. But the question remains, why are some of the league's veterans seemingly reluctant to embrace this change? Swoopes' comments suggest that the older generation might feel their legacy is being overshadowed. In a surprising turn of events, Sheryl Swoopes was reportedly pulled from broadcasting a game involving Caitlin Clark. The WNBA allegedly made the move due to concerns about Swoopes' ability to call Clark's games fairly.
We're like, did Sheryl Swoopes get fired? They took her off this game, and a lot of people were also happy about that because we don't know what her commentary would have been like with the fever on the court.
Rumors are swirling that the decision came after Swoopes was accused of racism, with some saying she harbored bias against Clark.
So for people to come at me and say that I made those comments because I'm a racist, like, first of all, black people can't be racist. I have, like, no issues with Caitlin.
This news sent shockwaves through the WNBA community. Fans, players, and commentators alike weighed in on the situation, with many questioning if Swoopes' comments were rooted in jealousy, racial bias, or simply a refusal to acknowledge Clark's greatness. This drama caught the attention of big names in sports media, including Stephen A. Smith.
There seems to be some haterade in the league in regards to Clark, starting with WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes herself.
Never one to shy away from controversy, Stephen A. took issue with Swoopes for praising the Indiana Fever, but failing to even mention Caitlin Clark. In one of his fiery rants, he asked how anyone could praise the Fever without giving credit to the player who is, without a doubt, their biggest star. He called Swoopes out for letting her personal feelings cloud her judgment.
Yes, I did listen to your entire podcast. You didn't mention Caitlin Clark, so I was right, number one. Number two, your personal relationship, what that got to do with your coverage? Ain't nobody said don't mention them. Ain't nobody said don't applaud them. Nobody told you to ignore them.
And that critique resonated with many fans. Clark's WNBA peers have also weighed in. Some have shown support for Clark, acknowledging that while breaking records is great, winning championships is ultimately what matters. But there's no denying that Clark's presence in the league is having a massive impact, and the numbers don't lie. As DeMita pointed out, the attention, viewership, and financial support that Clark has brought to the WNBA are undeniable. At the heart of this debate is a question that needs answering. Is the backlash Caitlin Clark is receiving really about her breaking records, or is there something deeper going on? Rachel DeMita made it clear that the hate directed at Clark feels personal. Whether it's jealousy, frustration with the new era, or just the natural tension between different generations of players, it's clear that Clark is a target. Sheryl Swoopes' comments about Clark's achievements sparked outrage because they seem dismissive and unfair. It's one thing to critique a player's performance. It's another to undermine their entire career. Swoopes questioned whether Clark's records should even count, simply because she had more time to break them. But as DeMita pointed out, records are meant to be broken, and every player has a different path. But the drama doesn't end here. As Caitlin Clark continues to break records and push the boundaries of what's possible in the WNBA, it's clear that the tension between the old and new generations is only going to intensify. Will Clark's haters finally give her the respect she deserves, or will the backlash continue to grow? And how will legends like Sheryl Swoopes navigate this new era of women's basketball? One thing's for sure, Caitlin Clark is here to stay, and her impact on the game is just beginning. But the question remains, will the WNBA's veterans embrace the change? Or will the league continue to be divided between the past and the future? Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments. Is Caitlin Clark unfairly criticized, or do legends like Sheryl Swoopes have a point? Let us know what you think, and stay tuned for more updates on this ongoing drama.
You got me down again.
Caitlin Clark has taken the WNBA by storm, breaking records and shutting down critics left and right. But one critic, ESPN's Molly Karam, went a step too far, claiming Clark's presence on the USA Olympic team would hurt the game. Now, with Clark continuing her historic season, Molly is walking back her words. This is how Caitlin Clark made Molly Karam regret doubting her. Stay tuned to see how this showdown between an emerging superstar and a high-profile critic unfolded. When the USA Olympic team roster was announced, Caitlin Clark's omission sent shockwaves through the basketball world. For a player as dominant and widely regarded as the future of women's basketball, being left off the roster was puzzling to many. Cheryl Reeve, Team USA's coach, explained the decision, citing Clark's inexperience at the professional level and the fact that she missed training camp due to her college commitments during March Madness. But the real stir came when Molly Karam weighed in on ESPN's First Take. She boldly claimed that putting Caitlin Clark on the roster would hurt the game, and implied that the decision to leave her off the team was justified.
Stephen A., I could actually argue that it hurts the game more if they had given her a roster spot over someone more deserving.
Molly argued that adding Clark to the team would prioritize marketing over merit, essentially suggesting that Clark wasn't skilled enough to deserve a spot.
That's exactly what I'm saying, because I think it makes a mockery of the women's game. If the focus on, now we just have to have people because of marketing and their attention, and they're not as talented, and we're not putting the best team out there.
Her words sparked immediate backlash, with fans and analysts pointing out that Clark's on-court performances had already proven her to be one of the most talented players in the WNBA, even in her rookie season. Karim's comments were controversial for several reasons. For one, Clark had already broken multiple WNBA records by that point, including the fastest rookie to hit 100 three-pointers and the first to log a triple-double. These achievements were unprecedented, especially considering how few rookies in WNBA history have made such an impact right out of the gate. Fans were quick to defend Clark, pointing out that her exclusion from the Olympic team had more to do with logistics than talent. Stephen A. Smith, Karam's co-host, even questioned the logic behind leaving Clark off the Olympic roster.
I truly believe eyeballs are going to tune in. People are going to be clamoring. Let me get my popcorn ready to see Caitlin Clark ride the bench.
No.
But
the answer is no.
Hold up. But time out. But first of all, there's 2 points to that. Number one, we don't know if she's going to ride the bench. That's number one.
Well,
and
Stephen,
number
they're going to
two,
put out. They're going
to hold on, Molly. You can't ask me a question.
Okay,
Molly, I'm answering your question.
Stephen A., I'm telling you know she's not going to be one of the starting five.
Did you be that idiotic and not make that call when throughout history, Team USA has been in part about marketing? It's dumb, period.
Given her potential to elevate the team's profile and increase viewership, he argued that having a player like Clark on the team wouldn't detract from the competition, but instead enhance the overall level of play and fan engagement. After all, this was a player who had carried her college team to deep tournament runs and was now carrying the Indiana Fever out of a playoff drought. While the debate raged on about her Olympic snub, Caitlin Clark was doing what she does best, proving her critics wrong on the court. By the time the Olympic Games were underway, Clark was already setting new records in the WNBA. She became the first rookie in WNBA history to win Player of the Month, broke the record for most three-pointers in a rookie season, and logged multiple triple-doubles in what is now being called the greatest rookie season in league history. Clark also propelled the Indiana Fever to their first playoff appearance since 2016, a feat that many thought was impossible.
Turned it around. They've won 7 of their 8 since. They clinched a playoff berth for the first time since 2016, which, by the way, was the last year of Hall of Famer and franchise icon DeMita Catching's career. So Caitlin, she continues to make history. She's the first rookie to win WNBA Player of the Month since the award's inception.
She not only led the team in scoring, but also in assists, showcasing her ability to make her teammates better. Aaliyah Boston, for example, had the best season of her career playing alongside Clark, with both stars earning All-Star nods. And Clark wasn't just putting up stats, she was doing it in style. From hitting logo threes to dishing out jaw-dropping assists, she quickly became the most talked-about player in the WNBA. Her rise to superstardom was undeniable, and fans couldn't help but wonder how different the Olympic team's fate could have been had Clark been on the roster. As Clark continued to dominate, Molly Qerim found herself in a tough spot. The numbers didn't lie. Caitlin Clark was proving herself to be one of the best players in the league. On First Take, Molly tried to explain her earlier comments, stating that while she didn't doubt Clark's talent, she believed other players deserved the spotlight as well.
By the way, it wasn't that anybody didn't think he was going to be successful or not play. It was just that we felt that other players in the W deserve shine as well.
Molly, I said...
Really, Molly? Wow.
They jumped on us. They jumped on us, Molly. They jumped on us as a show. They jumped on us as a show when we talk about...
But fans weren't buying it. Social media quickly lit up, with many calling out Qerim for underestimating Clark and not acknowledging her rapid rise to greatness. Even Stephen A. Smith chimed in, saying that it's one thing to want balance in the spotlight, but it's another to deny a player the credit they deserve.
You know why we didn't do a better job of promoting the WNBA? Because the numbers, the eyeballs, the interest, the sizzle, the headlines were not there. No one cared. The public didn't care. And so now you have somebody, that has the world caring, and you say to her, well, you know what? We want to make purely basketball decisions. It's the right thing to do, and we got to be worried about how other people are going to feel.
The tension on the show was palpable, and Molly's attempts to justify her earlier remarks only seemed to backfire. In fact, Clark's success proved just the opposite of Molly's claims. Not only did her presence elevate the Fever, but it also brought more attention to the entire league. WNBA viewership surged, and games featuring Clark consistently drew larger audiences than those without her. Fans were tuning in to see the next generation of basketball, and Clark was the face of that movement. Throughout all of this, Caitlin Clark never addressed Molly Qerim's comments directly. Instead, she let her performance on the court speak for itself. Game after game, she continued to break records, lead her team to victories, and solidify her place in the MVP conversation. Clark has always been known for her composure and confidence, and that's exactly how she handled this situation. Rather than engage in the back and forth of media drama, she focused on what she does best, playing basketball at an elite level. Her ability to rise above the noise and deliver on the court is what sets her apart from other players. And it's why, despite the early criticisms, Caitlin Clark is now one of the most respected names in the game. As we look ahead, one thing is clear: Caitlin Clark isn't going anywhere. If her rookie season is any indication, she's only scratching the surface of her potential. Her historic run has already put her in the conversation for MVP, and she's quickly becoming the face of the WNBA. The USA Olympic team may have snubbed her this time, but with the way Clark is playing, it's hard to imagine a future roster without her. And as for her critics, they're learning quickly that doubting Caitlin Clark isn't a good idea. Caitlin Clark is proving the doubters wrong, and the world is finally catching up to her greatness. What do you think? Did Molly Qerim underestimate Caitlin Clark? Should Clark have been on the Olympic team from the start? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on Caitlin Clark's rise to superstardom. Trust us, You won't want to miss what happens next.
How much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you should be killing them. Because you've been doing it a lot longer than they have. Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Here we go.
Sheryl Swoopes has been stirring up controversy in the WNBA, particularly with her critical comments about rising superstar Caitlin Clark. This season, Swoopes has made no secret of her jealousy, but her latest actions have taken things to a whole new level. ESPN, the network that's been closely following Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise, has highlighted her impact on the WNBA numerous times, making Swoopes' criticism even more surprising. Diamond DeShields recently made headlines in WNBA news for an aggressive play against Caitlin Clark, sparking intense debate among WNBA fans. Imagine this: DeShields intercepts Clark at half court during a key Indiana Fever game, not with just any foul, but with a clear, frustration-driven play. The fallout from this incident was immediate, with WNBA analysts and fans calling it out as a dirty play.
Against Caitlin Clark, it wasn't okay. It was a flagrant foul.
Igniting a firestorm of controversy. The aftermath of Diamond DeShields' actions didn't stop at just criticism. DeShields faced a barrage of backlash, including receiving racist threats.
Diamond DeShields received racist threats after Caitlin Clark flagrant foul,
which highlighted ongoing issues within the WNBA community. But amid this storm, Sheryl Swoopes stood out as a vocal supporter of DeShields, continuing her narrative against Caitlin Clark. Swoopes tweeted, "Head up, kid. Hate will not win. You are covered, and there's nothing these evil people can do about that. All love for you." This tweet, while supportive of DeShields, had significant consequences for Swoopes, leading to her removal from the WNBA broadcast team for the highly anticipated Fever versus Dallas Wings game, a pivotal WNBA matchup. When questioned by WNBA fans who were eager to hear her commentary, Swoopes didn't hold back, responding with the now famous phrase, "Not today, Satan." But let's be honest, supporting WNBA players who engage in potentially dangerous, career-threatening actions isn't a good look for a WNBA legend like Swoopes. This incident isn't isolated, it's just the latest in a series of actions that suggest jealousy and resentment towards Caitlin Clark, one of the most talked about players in women's basketball today. Stephen A. Smith, a well-known sports commentator frequently featured on ESPN, has consistently defended Caitlin Clark, and this time was no different. Smith didn't hesitate to call out Sheryl Swoopes for her biased and baseless criticism of Clark.
Swoopes. No, Caitlin Clark. Respectfully, Sheryl Swoopes, you have any idea how that makes you look? You have any idea how that serves to stain any kind of critique of Caitlin Clark?
The Caitlin Clark effect isn't just a buzzword. It's a real phenomenon in women's basketball, driving WNBA viewership and attendance to new heights. Caitlin Clark is redefining the game every time she steps onto the court, breaking WNBA records and setting new standards for what's possible in women's sports. But with greatness comes envy, and Swoopes' actions seem to reflect the challenges that come with being a trailblazer like Caitlin Clark. The tension between Sheryl Swoopes and Caitlin Clark goes back to Clark's college basketball days. Swoopes openly questioned whether Clark's skills would translate to the WNBA, even suggesting that Angel Reese's game was better suited for professional play. Swoopes confidently predicted that Clark wouldn't dominate the WNBA immediately.
Like, nah, it's not gonna be that easy. So will Caitlin Clark be a good pro? Absolutely. Will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now? Immediately? Absolutely not. Not gonna happen.
Okay.
But as we've seen, Caitlin Clark has exceeded all expectations, proving her doubters wrong at every turn. But Swoopes didn't stop at questioning Clark's abilities. She also criticized Clark's NCAA scoring record, dismissing it as a result of volume shooting rather than skill.
Going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record? Yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlin Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is, but that's the way it'll be. And I don't think it should be.
However, Swoopes got several key facts wrong. She claimed that Caitlin Clark took advantage of an extra year of eligibility due to COVID-19, playing 5 years of college basketball. In reality, Clark played the standard 4 years, just like Kelsey Plum, the previous record holder. What's more, Caitlin broke the record in fewer games, showing that it wasn't just about taking more shots, but making them count. Swoopes also exaggerated by stating that Caitlin Clark takes 40 shots per game, when in truth, Clark's average is closer to 19 shots per game. And perhaps the most glaring mistake, Swoopes claimed that Caitlin is 25 years old when she's actually just 22.
How much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old. Like, you should be killing them. Because you've been doing it a lot longer than they have. Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Carry on.
These inaccuracies have led many WNBA fans and analysts to question whether Swoopes' criticism is based on facts or personal bias. What Sheryl Swoopes fails to acknowledge is the monumental impact Caitlin Clark is having on women's basketball and the WNBA as a whole. Caitlin Clark is bringing more attention to the WNBA than ever before, inspiring a new generation of young female athletes and drawing in a wider audience to the league. Instead of uplifting the next generation of WNBA players, Swoopes seems intent on undermining their success. But this isn't just about Caitlin, it's about the future of the WNBA. Supporting Caitlin Clark means supporting the growth and evolution of women's basketball. Despite the backlash, Sheryl Swoopes eventually issued an apology, though many found it less than sincere. She defensively stated that black people can't be racist, a comment that did little to mend the situation.
I'm gonna say this, and then I wanna be done with this whole conversation. So for people to come at me and say that I made those comments because I'm a racist, first of all, black people can't be racist.
Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark continues to break records in her rookie WNBA season, solidifying her place in the history of the WNBA. From holding the WNBA single-game assist record to becoming the youngest player to achieve consecutive double-doubles in points and assists, Caitlin's accomplishments are rewriting the WNBA record books. Yet Sheryl Swoopes seems determined to ignore these achievements. It's becoming clear that this isn't just a case of casual criticism. It's starting to look like a personal vendetta, and people are taking notice. Even Stephen A. Smith, known for his outspoken views on ESPN, couldn't stay silent. He publicly criticized Swoopes for her blatant bias against Clark.
Clark and the Fever currently lead the WNBA in average game attendance and per-game TV viewership. But despite the attendance and viewership records, there seems to be some haterade in the league in regards to Clark starting with WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes herself.
The statistics don't lie. Caitlin Clark is leading the Indiana Fever to new heights, with the team boasting the highest average game attendance and TV viewership in the WNBA. And yet, Swoopes refuses to give Caitlin the credit she deserves. Instead, Sheryl Swoopes continues to praise other Fever players like Lexi Hull, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston, while conspicuously leaving Caitlin Clark out of the conversation.
This Indiana team, I'm gonna say shout out to Lexi Hull. I'm a big Lexi Hull fan. Watch her in AU. Lexi Hull shot the leather off the ball in their game against Seattle and just couldn't miss. Kelsey Mitchell is just broken. She is just shooting the basketball. Aaliyah Boston, almost a triple-double.
This omission is becoming increasingly difficult for WNBA fans to ignore, especially as Caitlin continues to set new records and drive the success of the Indiana Fever. Swoopes' refusal to acknowledge Clark's contributions is not only petty, but also damaging to her own reputation as a WNBA legend. And the criticism doesn't end there. Swoopes went as far as to suggest that Caitlyn's success is due to having better teammates at the Fever compared to Angel Reese's situation at the Chicago Sky. With Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese locked in a tight race for WNBA Rookie of the Year, Swoopes' dismissal of Clark's talent is almost laughable. So, what's next in this unfolding drama? As Caitlin Clark continues to rise in the WNBA, will the league and its legends like Sheryl Swoopes finally give her the recognition she deserves? Or will a shadow of jealousy continue to loom over her achievements? One thing is certain, this story is far from over.